Welcome to the episode of the Popcorn People Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are going to react to the Wonka trailer, give some thoughts on the Emmy nominations. We're going to review the brand new Netflix film coming out this coming Friday, They Clone Tyrone. And for this week's ranking episode, part of our ranking show, we are going to give you guys a little bit of a treat, as both Dom and I are big fans of stand-up comedy. But that being said, I am joined by my partner here, Mr. Don Fisher. How are you, bud?
Man, I'm good. I'm good out here. It's a weird time right now. There's a lot of the strikes are going on. We have a lot of online debate between celebrity and your 9 to 5ers, and it's very interesting because there's a lot that people are learning that they didn't know. And a lot of these, Leslie, I think Leslie Jones, Luke Cook are two that I saw that are very vocal. Like, hey, just in case you guys didn't know, we ain't all rich. We knew that, but I guess it's news to everybody else. I mean, they may be on TV, but they're more similar to us than you think.
Yeah, it's crazy to me because whenever I first saw it, I first saw this tweet or something, but somebody posted about the Screen Actor Guild going on strike and then WGA following suit. But like, you have to make $26,000 a year to qualify for healthcare with SAG, and they said 87% of the people don't make that.
That's crazy.
Don't make that. Hey, Frankie, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us. I'm going to just say this point blank and clear. I 1000% am in support of the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild and hope that, they get what they deserve. You know what I mean? I mentioned a few years ago in the midst of the pandemic that throwing everything on streaming would have its consequences in the future. It's here. The consequences are here. People aren't making the money they used to when it's not on network television because there's no ratings. There's no, there's no residuals because of that. They just drop on streaming and they move on with their life. I'll never forget the one story I heard from the guy that wrote The Bear. The night of the award show, he had to borrow money to get a suit to go to the awards because he didn't have enough money in his bank to go get a suit. The Bear, one of the number one shows of last year, could not get a suit to go to the award show because he couldn't afford one. Had to borrow money to get it. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And again, that's a streaming show. All 10 episodes dropped one time on FX. So before we get in there, I don't want to keep the somber atmosphere. I just want to say personally, I think Dom agrees with me. We support SAG. We support WGA. They give them the money they deserve because this only is a trickle-down effect of what the future holds. This isn't about the movies that we love, but at the same time, it's about movies that we're anticipated. We're excited to see. Production has stopped across the world. So it's definitely something that we hope to see.
To echo what some of what Leslie Jones was saying is that this doesn't just affect the actors who people may feel a way about. It affects lighting, camera, like all the crew, behind the scenes people who don't get mentioned as much. Like, this is their work too.
Yep.
And I would say more likely than not, most of those people, the crew people, they have families. So this is affecting a lot of people, and it does affect, and the one thing I was talking about with my wife is they're 9 to 5 like we are. I mean, sometimes they work a lot of more hours than we do. And the difference between a lot of our industries working a regular job and theirs is that theirs does happen to be unionized and a lot of America is not. So they are able to make a lot of noise and demand things where a lot of us are just like, oh, I can't get a raise. Cool. I guess I got to find another job. And, that's not the case for them. So.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think about this. I want people to think about this. People that might be on one side or the other. And what you made a good point of, like, most of these actors, like it's the 1% that are making the millions of dollars, and it's not their fault either. I mean, they've earned it. You know what I mean? It's the CEOs and stuff like that. But think about this: you right now are shutting down films, Okay, let's just say you have 100 people that work on one set. Let's just say 50. Let's just say 50 as a smaller number. You shut down 50 sets. Think about that. You're thinking about 50 different people, 50 different families on each one of these sets. Now you think about movie premieres, right? You can't go to movie premieres. Now you think about that for a minute. You think about the handlers, the PR people, all of those people that handle all of the things that have anything to do with that. You can't have those movie premieres. So people that their sole job is to set up movie premieres or be security at movie premieres, or you know what I mean, be the people on the red carpet that hold up the signs, whatever it is. All of these people are out of work right now. And it's not that like the whole AI thing, scanning the image, I can't even begin to fathom.
Yeah, that's wild.
This is the thing. I've always said this about everything when it comes down to this. When it comes down to, it's just like in the NFL, basketball, baseball. I'll never be on the side of the owners. Never on the side of the owners. People are always like, oh, I can't believe this guy makes $50 million. If everybody in the league's making $50 million a year, that means that person deserves $50 million a year. It just, I'm sorry, me including, I'm sorry I wasn't good enough to do sports to make $50 million a year. You know what I mean? But I'll never be on the side of the owners who are profiting exponentially. You saw the tweets. We've all seen the tweets of how much all of these CEOs are bringing home. Take home a quarter of that. Take a quarter of that off of there and pay your writers.
And a lot of that too is like bonuses that they get. And it's like,
yes,
you don't need that bonus, bro. Like you got so much money. What are you doing? You gonna go buy another yacht, a piece of an island? Like, what are you doing?
I don't even know. But we wanted to clear the air on that a little bit before before I really have a whole lot of fun about as we talk about the trailer of the week. All right.
Yeah, if you guys haven't heard, highly anticipated, possibly, Wonka trailer dropped this week, and we're gonna see Timothée Chalamet in a way that we haven't seen before. And as far as we know, the film is focusing on a young Willy Wonka and how he came to meet on one of his earliest adventures. What are your first initial thoughts of this trailer?
Okay. So I said specifically to him I was not going to watch this trailer. And then you texted me and was like, Wonka it is. And I was mad because I was like, shit, that means I have to watch the trailer. So I watched the trailer. It's awful. The trailer to me is awful. So this is what I typically do. I'll break it down. I typically send my wife trailers and say, how does this look? She'll watch it. I legitimately don't watch trailers unless I'm in the theater. But now that we've been doing this podcast, I'll watch them for the podcast and for this podcast purpose only. So I watched it. She said to me, she said, oh my God, it looks great. And I was like, all right, cool. So I got excited. And the thing about it is I have a love-hate relationship with Timothée Chalamet. I think that he's vastly overrated, but then Bones and All, I thought he was incredible. He kind of won me over a little bit there. I don't think he looks bad in the movie. I just think that everything around him, I saw somebody tweet this out. Kenzie tweeted this out. It looks very much like Cats. And that to me, I can't get out of my head now because it does.
I can see that.
And I'm just like, will I watch it? Yes, 100%. Well, I'll see it in theaters, whatever. The trailer, first impressions, it looks horrendous.
Yeah, I like Timothy. I can't say I love everything that he's been in, but overall, I usually have a positive reaction to him. The one thing for me with the whole, just the Willy Wonka story in general, is I can't get the like nature of the Willy Wonka or the Oompa Loompas out of my head. Like if you go and Google like what the Oompa Loompas like really were, I don't like it. I don't like it, and for good reason. But like, not to say the Cats thing, it does kind of have that same aesthetic. And if you saw Cats, geez. But I mean, I'm curious how he's gonna be able to pull this role off. I mean, it's hard to match any kind of like you're the lead up to what we're gonna see at Gene Wilder. It's hard to top that.
Yeah. And the Johnny Depp version was terrible.
Yeah, I didn't even finish the whole thing. So yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. It does what is it? Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa. It looks
That picture was horrible.
Yeah, it looked weird, right? I don't know. I'm sure though they're gonna hear all the criticism, trying to fix it at some point, but um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be the hit they want it to be because it's one of those who asked for this movie. I don't think anybody's really clamoring for Willy Wonka. Like, I mean, I feel like Candy. No one talks about Candy anymore. So, like, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna have to really do some major marketing,
creative marketing.
Yeah, they're gonna have to like reintroduce like the Wonka candy bars that they used to sell, and maybe do some kind of gold ticket promotion thing, or I don't know. But
and it looks a little dark, didn't it? Like, I mean, it's supposed to be like it looked okay. Because the thing about it is, you're going to have to sell families, right? You're going to have to sell families on this, and it was a little bit light with it. You know, I mean, the trailer was a little bit light in looking at it, but outside of that, I was just not. It kind of looked rough around the edges, like, and a little bit dark. And I was trying to see if I could find who the little girl is.
I feel like this is definitely like the test of Chalamet's star power. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think this is gonna be the one where they're like, let's see where he's at. I mean, even there was that one Apple commercial he had where they kept joking about how he doesn't have an Apple show yet. And they was like, oh yeah, man, we all got Apple shows. And he's like, why don't I have an Apple show?
Exactly. Yeah. And it makes no sense because it didn't make any sense because he's never had an Apple show. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
This is gonna be the test.
Yeah, because Dune doesn't count. Like, that's a big collective box office, and I mean, it didn't really do good at the box office anyway. But I mean, the pandemic didn't help. But it's definitely interesting. So I'll look forward to never having to watch another trailer, and then looking forward to come out hopefully in December and going from
right.
But we'll transfer over to some news of the week. So obviously the big news of the week, the Emmy nominations were announced, and there was your typical nominations. You know what I mean? Let's see here. I'm trying to I've had the list loaded up right here, and it just completely just failed upon me here of like the ranking of who had the most. But I do know that it ranked somewhere along the line of Succession, The Last of Us, and White Lotus. Were some of the bigger, picks from the nominations. And to be honest, there was some good ones. You know what I mean? Like, there are some good ones. I'm not going to lie. There's some ones that I really, really enjoyed. Some that we'll talk about. Okay, so Succession had 27, including 3 in the lead actor. The Last of Us and The White Lotus had 24 and 23, respectively. I've got a lot of qualms with this. We don't have long enough to talk about that. I almost texted you and said that we need to go live just to talk about these nominations because of how angry it was at some of them. But give me some surprises, some picks you liked, some picks you were pissed about. Give me all of that.
Well, I think for me, I think the shows that I consume the most are the comedy series, and so I'm really glad that Abbott Elementary is still continuing to get love. I feel like, and it's weird because I feel like it's a show that doesn't get spoken about widely enough. Like, there's not a lot of Twitter things going on, a lot of standing of these relationships, but the show is phenomenal. I know a lot of teachers, and they all echo like the sentiments of like, this is exactly what it's like. We don't have this. I'm glad they mentioned charter schools. I'm glad they mentioned funding. Like, all these things are very real, and they're able to do it in a way that's palatable for everyone. There's some that like I did, like Dead to Me. I didn't know that show was still on. I didn't know it was still.
It's not very good.
Yeah. Rachel Brosnahan, I wasn't surprised by that one. She was made for that role. I haven't made it up to the latest season, but what I've watched, she's fucking, I don't even know how to describe her, dude. Like, she is so good in that role. And then, I don't think there's a clear favorite in some of these, though. I feel like when it comes to like the series itself, different ones and categories maybe, but when it comes to the performances, I think it's almost a popularity contest. You know what I mean? Like, when you see a Jenna Ortega in a category, you go, oh, clearly she's going to win. And then you look at the rest of them and you go, I don't know. I don't know. And it kind of depends too on, I feel like, social standing. You know, a lot of these different actors and actresses have these small scandals that are essentially nothing. Oh my God, we saw her smoking. We don't like it. But will that affect her standing? Because now it's all about how many followers you have and how many your online presence. Like I remember watching one of these interviews and they were talking about that they didn't get roles because of an online presence. I'm like, that shouldn't matter, but they want traction. So it's interesting to me to see some of these names, but I do think the Bear is it's hard to beat the Bear. I literally haven't heard anybody say they don't like this show. Some shows that are big, people are like, it's okay. Like White Lotus, I get mixed emotions from people all the time about that show. They're like, it's okay, or I don't get the hype, or oh, I love it. But the Bear, everyone loves Bear. Like every time I post a poster or a trailer for that show, I get messages from people like, yo, that show's fire. And da-da-da. I'm like, okay, so they've been doing their thing. So I feel like that's going to be the one to look out for. And I mean, Succession's probably going to run away with a whole bunch of stuff. I have yet to watch the show, but
So good.
That's what I keep hearing. But I feel like I did the same thing with Breaking Bad. Once it hits like season 4 or 5 and I haven't seen any of it, I'm like, that's just one that got away, and I'll probably watch it 10 years from now.
I'll force you to watch it one day. There's a lot. I have a lot. I mean, I don't have a lot. I kept mine to Cliff Notes because there's a lot of things I had an issue with. But I'll kick it off with some of the things that I did, like Jason Segel and Jessica Williams getting love for Shrinking.
He's been doing his thing over the past like decade, writing and acting.
Down. He created the show with Brett Goldstein from Ted Lasso and Bill Lawrence. And this show is incredible. If you haven't seen Shrinking, please watch it. It's hands down the best show on TV. I love Jessica Williams getting a nomination. She's the best part of that show. She's a fantastic actress, so getting a love is great. However, it missed on Best Comedy Series, which I just am absolutely blown away by. I mean, how could you watch? I mean, Wednesday is not better. Let's stop it. Okay. It is incredible. Harrison Ford missing out on supporting actor blew me away. I mean, think about this for 5 seconds and tell me how you don't picture the idea of Harrison Ford getting high and eating Fun Dip and that not being nominated for like that. If you watch episode 9 of Shrinking, watch that and explain to me how he does not get nominated in supporting actor in a comedy, and I will just laugh in your face. It doesn't make any sense to me. He deserves to be there. I don't understand how he's not. Looking at this list, supporting actor, you got 2 nominations for Barry, a couple for Ted Lasso, Abbott Elementary. I love Abbott Elementary, deserves to be there. Eben Moss Bacharach for The Bear Belongs There. James Madsen wasn't mad for Jury Duty. Wasn't mad about that. That show's hilarious. But Shrinking, undersold. Dominic Fishback for Swarm getting the nomination. Probably my favorite nomination.
Yeah.
So well deserved. Personally, feel like she should win, period, because she's incredible. I wish they would have laced the show with nominations. Of course they didn't, because I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't. It should have been nominated for writing. Should have been nominated for best series, limited series. The Bear, obviously, you mentioned the best show on TV, got 13 nominations. What's crazy is a lot of people don't understand is this was all nominations for season 1.
Right.
The season 2 is not eligible till next year. So next year, whenever the Emmys come around, you'll hear the Bear quite a bit a lot. Supporting actor category. This was where I had a big issue. It is filled with 2 shows and 2 shows only. You had 8 nominations in the category. 4 from Succession, 4 from The White Lotus. Can somebody explain to me, did they not watch any of the shows between The White Lotus and Succession? I love Succession more than anybody, but there's a few people in this category. That is just absurd. HBO got 127 nominations total across all of the things. Now, don't get me wrong. I feel like there's 1,000 Emmy Award like categories. There really is, and it's really hard to follow. But my thing is this. Can we be consistent with how many people are in each category?
Right.
One category has 5. One category has 6. one category has 8. What is the thinking behind this process? Give me 5 or 6, and that's across the board. If you don't have enough to fill that nomination, maybe tie it together with another category and we'll put it. I don't even know. Again, this season of White Lotus was not that good. Season 2 was not that good. I like White Lotus. I loved the first season and thought it was very good. Season 2 was not that great. And last thing about the Emmys for me, Kerry Russell sliding in for the Diplomat was fantastic. I love that show quite a bit. I could legitimately go on for hours.
Yeah, I think
hours about this.
Now that you say that, I am looking at just White Lotus, like Succession. Like it is. I feel like it's the Emmys are very. I feel like
weird.
Yeah, and I feel like at some point you have to take into account for like what people are watching, because there's a lot of shows that like. I ain't gonna say a lot, but there's a number of shows that you could argue that a majority of people are not watching or they haven't finished it. And I feel like that's always the big thing with viewers when these award shows come out, when we've seen a lot of them and they're like, I don't even know what that show is, or I can't afford that streaming service, so I can't watch that show, or whatever the case may be. And it's like, when do they take into account your everyday viewer and what they like? Because the show that they like is probably like, I watch this one show all the time and it's never nominated for anything, but I love it. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have the answers.
Yeah,
it's a very old sacred thing that no matter how much we want to change it, it just seems to, you can only chip away at it a little bit every like 5 years before you're going to change anything.
Yeah, agreed. Beef getting love too. Beef was an incredible show. Really liked Beef this year. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to even think about and talk about. But I could sit here and rant for hours, I think, about that entire thing. But that being said, we're going to transition over into our movie review of the week.
Yeah, so this coming up Friday, July 21st, there's a new sci-fi mystery adventure dropping called They Clone Tyrone. It's a series of eerie events thrust an unlikely trio onto the trail of a nefarious government conspiracy, and conspiracy should be in all capital letters. It stars Jamie Foxx, John Boyega, Tiana Parrish, and the director, Jewel Taylor. I believe it is his directorial debut. I'll let you go first. What were your thoughts on this movie?
So I remember this was supposed to come out at the end of last year. Was very, very excited about it. Don't know what really happened with the delay of why it came out and why it didn't come out. But then when it was finally announced that it was coming out, I was very excited. I mean, I'm a big fan of Jamie Foxx, but John Boyega, any project that he does, I'm there. I'm seated.
Yeah,
I'm ready. Good. He's like so good. The film starts with a kind of a bang, and then you're like, what the hell just happened? And it's a very much, it reminds you of an 80s, 90s mystery thriller, throw in some comedy. I thought Ridenmeyer and Taylor's script was pretty well written to coincide with so many different things, because it's one of those movies that you have to pay attention.
Yeah.
You have to pay it. Like, you cannot watch this I had to rewind it a couple times because I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Let me rewind. Because there's so many intertwining characters and of the same characters being the same. It's like, holy cow. And then, of course, like, your 3 leads. I mean, Boyega, Paris, and Fox are great. Like, it's just the perfect combination. They have great chemistry together. As I mentioned, Fox is great. It's great seeing him on the screen again. It's great seeing him in movies. In good movies, I guess I could say, too. That's what I'll say. Fox has been in movies. I'm not saying he hasn't been in movies in forever, but him being in good movies is a whole different ballgame.
He finally started getting taken seriously.
Exactly. So this was fantastic. Paris, I thought she held her own with 2 big leagues. These are 2 big dogs. You know what I'm saying? So I was impressed with her. But to me, Boyega, every time he plays in a movie, he's a star. Period. He's a star. And I don't know if it's his choice of selection of films is very, very minimal, and maybe he just puts himself in certain things that he just believes in himself. But he's an incredible actor that just shows up over and over again, and I love it so much. What did you think?
Yeah, this movie is like, no matter what we say, it is very hard to give completely give you what this movie offers without spoiling things. And of course, we don't do spoilers, but I will say what I compared it to was if you take Dolomite, you take Men in Black, you take some Nancy Drew and some Scooby Doo, and then like a Paid in Full, and you just kind of crush them together and add and sprinkle in some QAnon conspiracy type things, and this is what you get. I feel like it was very fresh, and it's kind of like they went on a Reddit forum and were like, okay, because these things that they're talking about is how a lot of people actually feel. Some stuff is very literal. If you take some of the conspiracies, say like, or not conspiracy, but some things that have happened, like the Tuskegee experiment and other things like that, and you mix it with this kind of like gold trimmed dope boy pimp pro together. It's a lot of fun, and you do have to pay a lot of attention. I watched it twice because I watched it by myself. I had to show the wife because she was like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "All right, you got to see this." It's actually it's climbed into my top 5 of the year. It's very original, and I think that's what I love so much about it. And it's one of those ones where you like, what else does this director have up their sleeve? If they're able to do this on their first outing, it's like, okay, all right, you got some newness that we want. And when people always talk about with Netflix, I want, they don't like certain movies, they don't like certain shows, or where's the original stuff? This is original. So if you want originality, you want some freshness, this is the movie you're looking for. It is unapologetically Black. So if you only have that one Black friend, or that one friend you work with at work, some things are going to be over your head a little bit. But this is a great chance to like take in what some of the culture talks about, even if it's like their stereotype stuff, because they flip it a little bit and they make what are deemed as stereotypes kind of a positive or a power that they can use for themselves. So this is one that if you're of the Black culture, you're like, oh shit. And then if you're adjacent, you go, oh, this is interesting. Oh yeah. So it's more for everybody than it lets on, but it is very Black.
Exactly, I agree 100%. I loved it. I loved that they don't shy away from that.
Yeah.
I love that the film is funny, but not overly funny.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It also doesn't take itself too seriously. Like it's very hard for me when you watch a film because you look at Jamie Foxx, Boyega, you get a vibe from the trailer. Like it's kind of borderline Ocean's 11 in that aspect. Like it's funny, but it's supposed to be funny in certain parts, but it's not. It's also be very serious in some aspects. It's so well written. It stays true to its culture, as you said too. Like it doesn't try to I don't really know the right word for it. It just doesn't try to make it anything.
Yeah, well, I know I was trying to say because this is one of the one of the films where like there's a lot of Black films that I see that like I feel like the dialogue isn't authentic. It feels like Black people trying to be Black people, if that makes sense. And this one, it felt like it just flowed very naturally. I don't know if it was just the writing or if it's the Jamie Foxx effect, because I feel like he makes everybody feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And then the
twist, it's like the right people are delivering the lines.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then the twists are crazy. I really want to know.
Kiefer Sutherland's pretty good in this too. I like him as a little villain. He was pretty good as a little bit of a
his
villain.
whole like monologue, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. It is so good.
I think it's good counter programming this week because it is Barbie and Oppenheimer week. You know what I mean? And I think it's really good counter programming on a streaming service for the people that aren't going to go out to theaters and see maybe Oppenheimer, Mission Impossible, or Barbie this weekend. I do think that it's perfect. I think the thing about it is I think Netflix is wisely bringing this out this week, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because often when you have big films in theaters, not everybody's going to rush out to see them. Going to the theaters is expensive. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? And because of that, people stay at home. And that's why some of these movies are very popular on streaming platforms because of that reason. So, yeah, please, please, please watch this movie. Please support this movie. It's incredible. It's really, really good. I think it's skyrocketed into my top 10 easily. One of my favorite scripts of the year. Like it's that good. It's that much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, it comes out Friday on Netflix. And if you were so happen to be lucky enough to live in a city that it's playing in select theaters, I think that movie would have been so dope in a packed theater.
Yeah.
So dope in a packed theater, dude. I would have loved that like quite a bit, honestly. But let's see here. We're moving on to some watch recommendations. All right, some watch recommendations. Obviously, each and every week we try to give you something. It doesn't have to be new. It could be something old, something that really recently caught our eye again. Because I got something old that I watched again that I couldn't believe is so funny still. But we try to give you something on the movie and then something on the TV side, or sometimes we'll give you two movies. Who knows? Whatever we got. Don, what do you got for us this week for the watch recommendation?
So for I'm gonna go show recommendation first. And because I think the fourth season is coming up this week, I believe, on the 20th. Tacoma FD is my new, or has been for a while, my new bedtime show. It's the Broken Lizard crew, and it's kind of like if The Office, or no, not The Office, if Workaholics, if the guys from Workaholics, you put that same energy and hijinks into a fire department, that's what you get. And the show it's an easy, fun, lighthearted watch. Kind of like Brooklyn Nine-Nine in a way, where there's not always like something going on that's job oriented, but it's a lot of fun. The cast is hilarious. They have a way of toting the line between can you say that and fuck it, we're gonna say it anyway. And your main people are Steve Lemmy and Kevin Heffernan. I think they both like wrote, produced, direct the show. And then you have Hesse, I believe is her name, that's in Yellowstone, who plays Kevin's daughter on the show. It's hilarious, and you can easily watch the first 3 seasons in like 2 days. Their episodes are 20 to 30 minutes, and I mean, it's hard for me when I'm bored to not want to just put it on. And I'm pretty sure I've watched all 3 seasons multiple times. And as far as my movie recommendation goes, I just finally watched The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. Now, it's not a perfect film, but I do think it takes some great big swings, and I'd be curious to see what they could have done with, say, maybe more time. I feel like what the movie lacked was more time, because it made some bold statements at the very beginning, kind of lost it towards the middle, but I still think it's a very fun watch. It's like Frankenstein in the hood, essentially. The monster was lacking a little bit, and it's not very memorable, but the story itself is pretty cool, and I definitely think that a lot of people will dig it. So there we go.
Yeah, for me, my recommendation of the week. All right, so I am a reality TV junkie, and this past weekend, the brand new season of Too Hot to Handle dropped on Netflix, and I love that show quite a bit. It's reality trash at its finest. Cheap plug. You can listen to my reality TV podcast that I do by myself, the Love and Reality podcast. It is trash at its finest. I love it. It's incredible. It's great. It's stupid. It's over the top. It's ridiculous. It's all those things like times 10. I really just love it. And there's no reason to love it other than it's good trash, as I like to say. But it's a fun show to watch each and every week. And they've got the first 4 episodes that dropped this past week. The next 3 drop on Friday, and then 3 more the following Friday. There's another thing. I'm going to go 2 TV shows this week because I'm going to cheat. There's a show called Joe Pickett. It's on Paramount Plus, and I recently actually interviewed. Cheap plug again. I'm plugging away at everything here just because. But I interviewed the 2 leads, Michael Dorman and Juliana Gill, who play Joe and Mary Beth Pickett in the show. I watched the show, and I was very hesitant about it at first. And we're in season 2, and it's incredible. There's some good writing in this. I really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. There's some good twists and turns. I like it quite a bit. That's really all I gotta say about it. I like it quite a bit. And
is it a Western?
No. So basically, he plays a game warden.
Okay.
And like season 2 kind of focuses on a serial killer that's like killing the hunters because they're anti-hunting.
Oh.
And it's been pretty good twists and turns, and the roots of who the serial killer was came out, and you're like, holy fuck, like this is insane. Like it's just deeper. It's got so many damn layers in it that when I first started watching it, I'm just like, I watched it because I got it as an assignment. So I'm like, I'm only watching this because I'm watching each week and the characters are developing. I'm like, man, this is actually really good. And the characters and the development and the writing. And I'm like, man, it's pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It's a blast. I really think that it's easy binge too. I think it's 10 episodes, which is a lot, but 45 minutes or so a piece. It's not too bad for season 1. We're in episode 8 debut today, but if you have the opportunity to check out Joe Pickett, please do. It's pretty fun. And a little quick programming note for those of you listening at home. Dom and I have quite a busy week at the movies this week. We both are going to see Haunted Mansions tomorrow night. You're seeing Haunted Mansions tomorrow night, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Tuesday night, we have Oppenheimer in IMAX, which should be incredible. Wednesday night, are you doing Talk to Me Wednesday night?
Yep.
He's doing Talk to Me Wednesday night. I'm not going because I've already seen it. I saw it back on Sundance, and then I'm going to see Barbie on Thursday. When are you seeing Barbie?
I believe it's sometime this weekend because I want to go with my family, and my wife's got some cake she has to bake, so it might be delayed until maybe like Sunday, but it's definitely going to be a watch this weekend.
Yeah, so we'll probably more than likely have a double dipping of Oppenheimer and Barbie next weekend on the show for review purposes. You can promise we'll talk about the 2 most talked about movies in the history of America next week. Golly. But I mean, we'll see Haunted Mansions. You'll see some thoughts of ours on social media because the social embargo, I believe, is already up. So we'll have those up. The review embargo is up closer to the end of the month when the film is released. We'll definitely talk about it a little bit on social media, but we'll probably cover it closer to the release on the show. Actually excited about it. Some of the early reactions were good.
Yeah. And I just watched the first one. I hadn't watched it in a long time, and I'm like, okay, let me try to, because I don't know if this is like a remake, if it's a sequel, if it's a I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
I don't either, but I don't know. The early reactions being good. I was kind of like, all right.
I mean, anything with Lakeith Stanfield, I'm with it.
Exactly. Another one. He's like Boyega. Like, yeah. Like I'm in. Like 100%. Like they don't get enough credit for what they do.
Right.
So. But yeah, so that's just a little bit of a programming note. We are going to transition into our random rankings of the week, and this one is bound to be a fun one. All right, so Dom and I sit down, and we've just kind of gone back and forth. I saw, and Dom and I, we talked about it a little bit last week. Dom and I are massive stand-up comedy fans. Like, if he watches a special and says that it's really good, I automatically add it to the top of my charts, and vice versa. We talk about stand-up a lot. We talk about the specials. We have similar taste in comedians. So it's nice to be able to go back and forth about that because we also believe in the freedom of comedians telling their jokes. So that being said, I saw this on Twitter and I was like, this has got to be our rankings thing. So I'm going to pop up on the screen. Steve Harvey posted, "You're throwing a comedy party. Give me your 3." Okay. You know what? How about let's make it a little bit juicier. How about we pick 3, but we do a draft.
Okay.
Draft 3, and you can't double dip on the ones that you pick and I pick. You know what I mean? I feel like it'd be a little bit fun. And then what we'll do, obviously, is what I'll do with all these things is I take to the old world of social media, and let's see who has the better and whose party they're attending. Are you going to attend Ricky's party or Dom's party? And you know what, Dom? I'm going to regrettably let you have first pick in our comedy party draft. That's what we're going to call it. Stand-up comedy party draft.
All right. So there's some ones that people might think that you immediately go for first because they're current. But my first pick is Bernie Mac.
Okay. I like it. So the thing about that is what frustrates me about that pick. You did zag where I thought you would zig, and it's left me to pickle with picking. Man, there's so many funny people in this.
I know.
Oh my god! I'm gonna have to go to somebody that made me fall in love with stand-up comedy, and that's Eddie Murphy. I have to go to Eddie Murphy. He's the reason I fell in love with stand-up comedy.
That Raw stand-up special. Oh my god,
man. So funny, man.
Oh, so my next pick. Okay, so Bernie's my he's got the memorable jokes, he's got the delivery, he's boisterous. So I have to mellow out a little bit to kind of give you some like the hard bars. I gotta go Dave. Dave Chappelle.
Man, it hurts so bad. It's so good. Like Dave is it's hard to figure out who I believe is quote unquote the GOAT. I feel like you come up with more of a Mount Rushmore than you come up with the GOAT. But personally, I probably lean Dave Chappelle is probably the greatest comedian of all time, stand-up comedian of all time. It's really close if you throw in Murphy, Mac, even Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
You have a lot of guys that are on that pedestal, but Chappelle is just Chappelle, man. I don't think there's a better like raw storyteller on the stage that delivers punchlines the way he does.
Yeah.
But it hurts because it was either Murphy or Chappelle. That really does. That does hurt, and it's kind of hard because I wanted to kind of go old school with Murphy and then kind of go a little bit newer.
Right.
And see, there's one pick that I want to make, but it's a pick that I think that might throw me for a loop here. So, I've got Murphy. Murphy's loud. Murphy's funny. He's punchy.
Got impressions.
I know it's hard because some of these other guys are around that same. All right, so I went Murphy. I'm gonna go. Oh. All right, I'm gonna go. This is hard, man. I'm gonna go Chris Rock.
Okay.
I feel like instead of trying to flush out my special of trying to make different comedians, it's like I'm just gonna go 3 comedians that are almost all loud and all similar and in your face type of thing. I feel like Rock is more of a modern day throw it in your face type of guy. I like him a lot. So give me Rock at my number 2 pick.
All right, that's a good one.
Yeah, I know.
So my last one, because I had when I first kind of make this, I was like trying to put down, okay, this kind of comedian. So my last one is like, you're kind of raunchy, you're kind of like uncle at the barbecue pick, and it was hard between Robin Harris and Mike Epps, but I think I got to go Mike Epps. I need the one he don't need necessarily the setups and stuff. He's going to hit you with zingers that you can take to your job and throw them at, your coworkers. You know what I mean?
So it's funny because like Mike Epps is like he's the guy that like not every joke will be funny, but it's like 9 out of 10 jokes will be funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's that good, and he's he's got very like his raunchy humor. Some of the best though. Like, it's so good. It's so good. All right, so I've got loud with Murphy. I've got loud with Rock, and oh man, I don't know if I want to play it. Man, there's a guy on here that I believe's on the Mount Rushmore that I know a lot of people don't believe that is on the Mount Rushmore. I went old school, new-ish school. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go 3 separate ways. I'm just gonna go with my heart. I'm gonna go Kevin Hart. I have to. I have to go Kevin Hart. It's to me personally, I don't think anybody has consistently been as good as he has been over the last 20 something or 10, 15, whatever years it's been. I think it's been longer than that. It's probably about 15, 20 years or so he's been doing it. I've seen him live 2 different times. It's been incredible every single time. His stand-up specials, in my opinion, I don't think he's missed yet. Like,
yeah, I mean, when you're selling out football stadiums, you're doing something right.
Exactly.
Like, you can't say that he's not funny if he's selling out football stadiums.
Exactly. So, all right, folks, I first things first, Dom, give us the 3 that you picked. Who's going to be at the comedy party for Dom?
At my party, we got Bernie Mac. We got Dave Chappelle. We got Mike Epps. You're laughing your ass off. You might learn something. And then if you dress funny, you're getting clowned. I'm sorry.
So the bad thing about it is who you getting clowned by, Chappelle or Epps? Probably both. You know what I mean?
Right.
My comedy lineup is Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock, and Kevin Hart. I'm paying just to see Eddie Murphy roast Kevin Hart for a little while too while we're there. You know what I mean? But folks, we want to know whose party you attending, Dom or I's. Then I want you to tell us what 3 comedians you would pick at your party. To be honest with you, you really can't go wrong with any of the 3 on this. Right. Any 3 on this list.
And let me tell you, it was very hard not to pick Cat Williams. He was teetering. I've seen him live, and I remember this is right after the Pimp Chronicles tour, and the first thing he said was, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," and people lost it because you don't realize how high-pitched that voice is and the delivery of something so simple. People are dying. And from then on, it was a great show.
Yeah, the only one that I had Richard Pryor I was hesitant on.
Yeah.
Pryor's good, and to me, it was like, all right, I'm going to pick one GOAT, and I feel like, Murphy's on that Mount Rushmore. You know what I mean? Like, Murphy's on the Rushmore. So, like, I got my one Mount Rushmore guy, for sure Mount Rushmore. Then it was like, man, Chappelle's like, I almost went Chappelle first, but I felt like if I went Chappelle, you would pick Murphy. So I was like, I was canceling out either one of my picks. But you really can't go wrong. I mean, you can take any 3. You can take Pryor, Bernie, and Martin Lawrence, and I'm there. You know what I mean? You can take Rock, Williams, Hart, and I'm there. You know what I mean?
And also for everyone who looks at the list, who do you think is missing from this list? I know some people might add like Patrice O'Neal. Some people might add D. Ray Davis. There's a lot of people you could add to the list. It's very hard. It's so hard.
It is. Yeah, as somebody that loves stand-up comedy, it's I don't know. I feel like we're finally getting back in the wave of the older stand-up comedy where people are preaching about the choir of making you laugh and tell jokes, which is something
it's okay. It's okay to be offended. Like that's like if you can't laugh at yourself, like you need to reevaluate what you're doing because it's funny. Like things about yourself, and when someone is able to hit on it and they don't know you, it's like, oh shit, like that's me. Like that's crazy. So it's okay. You can be a little offended. They're not trying to hurt your feelings, at least not in a malicious way. But just take it in, and it's okay. You'll be okay.
Exactly. Have fun. And at the end of the day, if the comedian tells a joke that you didn't like, press the button. Change the channel. Change the channel. I promise you. It's going to be okay. A comedian's job is to go on stage and make the audience laugh, which also, please, comedians, if you get on the stage and are preachy and give us your political opinions, please stop doing that as well, because I hate it. I listened to, oh man, what's her name? Oh man, I forgot her name already. Whitney Cummings said in an interview once, she was talking to Kevin Hart, and she goes, I don't know if they're getting on the stage and they're running for office or they're telling jokes. She said, I can't figure out what the difference is on some of these people anymore. And I'm like, this please, listen, I want every and it doesn't matter. And let me explain to you, I don't care what side of the fence you are. I don't want to hear your political jokes on the stage. Political stance, not jokes. I don't care. Jokes are hilarious. Like, I can make fun of everybody. I don't care. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, it's kind of exhausting how it is. But yeah, so I don't know. But just sit back, enjoy, and laugh. But if you don't laugh, that's okay. Like, it's okay. You know what I mean? Just stop being so offended easily.
And don't be afraid to laugh. If it's funny, it's funny. I think that's the big thing.
Exactly. Like,
people are like, oh, I can't laugh at that. Yes, you can. That's why you laughed. It was funny.
Exactly. And that's what I love about watching like Matt Rice. He's like, guys, come on. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I think him and Andrew Scholes are like the two of the best right now of like, look, I'm going to cross the line and you're going to laugh. And if you don't laugh, I'm going to make you laugh a little bit later. Like, I'm going to hit you with some punches. I can't pull them. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's just nothing. Again, you don't like it, turn up. It's just like a TV show. If you don't see something that you're watching something, you don't like what you see, just change the channel. It's that simple.
And just know that if you get mad and you want to tweet about them, you're just making more people watch their stuff. That's what you're doing. You tell me I hated it so much, I go, I kind of want to watch it now.
Exactly. Exactly. If you tell me it's bad or tell me it was a terrible joke, like, I'm there. Like, if somebody says something, if I see somebody tweet about something, oh, Matt Rice canceled again, I'm like, oh shit, let me fucking go find out let me find out who he pissed off now. You know what I mean? Like, it's the first thing I want to do. So, and that's why he's got a worldwide tour sold out. So, that being said, we appreciate you guys listening to the Popcorn People podcast. Make sure to follow Dom on Twitter at king_fish. Follow myself at RickyBlair_. We will be back next week talking about Barbieheimer. As people have coined it. I'm excited to talk about both those movies. I'm very excited to talk about Oppenheimer. We're seeing that in IMAX on Tuesday. 3 hours, though. Hopefully it's a breeze, and hopefully I don't need a nap. So, but we will be back next week.